A Human, our story 3, Traversing Time. There was now only the fire in front of a human. It watched the flames dance, and it remembered the drink in its hands. It supped from it deeply, and Lowena's voice was soon joined by every voice of the Adyo. Viridius Sudrata, Viridius Sudrata, Viridius Sudrata, Viridius Sudrata. The flames intensified in front of a human, and it felt the departure of the vessel from its fingertips. Perhaps it had fallen to the earth. A human now stood before the fire. The heat intensified, and in the flames, ensorcelled geometries began to coalesce. A human did not know why, but it started to cry. Then there was a flash in the flames, and an entity appeared. The entity was becoming certain, and in that elaborate process, its form changed many, many times. Legs, breasts, penises, eyes, limbs, flesh, mouths, teeth, hair, and sphincters. Its materialization wavered, and then it returned as the chanting intensified. Viridius Sudrata, Viridius Sudrata, Viridius Sudrata, Viridius Sudrata. And then, as if it had always been there, the figure stood amidst the flames. All the voices of the Adyo immediately ceased, and only the slow crackle and spit of burning wood could be heard. Before a human now stood a many-legged figure. It was clothed in cloth as grey as ash, and above the waist it was clearly the torso of a man. Beneath his elaborate headdress sat grim features, besieged by wild and unkempt ginger hair. It stepped forth from the flames, sending a shower of sparks up into the night sky, and began to circle a human on his many legs. "Ah, the Adyo have not disappointed me this evening. You are a marvel, aren't you?" asked the many-legged man. I am a human," were the only words it could utter. "Oh, yes, yes, I can see that. But you are not of this place. Indeed, the Adyo have seen right through you. They were wise to summon me here. Now, tell me, what is it you fear most?" "Pain," a human blurted out as a pang of premonition burst into its mind, flooding out all other reasons to produce a dignified response. "Well, we shall have to conquer that, won't we? My, what a fascinating gift you are. Now, another question. Do you realize why you are so different?" "No," a human replied, calculated and honestly this time, for it did not. "I see. The gods have indeed set some tasks before me, then, and I have decided that I will happily oblige them. For you will absorb a great deal of my attention, and I shall witness things beyond my comprehensions, thanks to you. Or to learn just enough to be interesting. That is the gift that they give to themselves." The ginger in its hair burned bright, and flames began to ignite within it. "Please, will you help me?" uttered a human, again not entirely sure why it had asked this. "Ah, so it comes freely from thy mouth, traveller. I will do so. After all, our fates are now bound together like iron. But before I show you why, you must conquer fear." "How?" The figure turned and pointed slowly at the fire, and it grew in intensity. All of a sudden the voice of the Adyo returned mid-verse, and a human looked around at their faces. They also beckoned it to move towards the flames. A human felt fear, for it knew fire was hot, and in that heat was indeed primal terror itself. A human closed its eyes, summoned courage, and stepped towards the flames. The many-legged man began to circle a human with greater rapidity, all the while keeping his gaze keenly fixed on a human. "Into the flames with you, human! Into the flames with you! Step past your fear!" he called out. A human took another step, and the fear increased along with the temperature. "You will never know until you know what lies beyond pain, beyond fear, human!" the man called out. His hair was now fully ablaze. A human's fear was indeed growing more fierce by the step, and it felt its flesh begin to singe as the fire roared higher and brighter into the night sky. "Overcome your fear, human! Know that you are destined to walk in many worlds, not just here amongst the adieu." A human let go of a scream that it had been endeavouring to keep behind its tongue, and it stepped closer towards the flames. The fire was burning it viciously now. It felt pain, but it knew it must overcome. "None of the others can tread this path. Only you, human. Overcome your pain. Overcome your fear." It felt fear, but it knew it must overcome. A human faltered. In all its effort to conquer fear, the pain had become too much. "I can go no further! I will die!" it shouted out with a voice riddled with uncertainty and anxiety. "You can go further, and you will go further. Concentrate on what is in you, not outside of you. Take the step beyond," shouted back the many-legged man. He was now orbiting around a human. A human did not know what faith was, but it was now determined to find out. Whatever happened in a human's brain at that time was momentous. Whether it was the hand of the gods nudging it forward or not is difficult to discern at this place in space and time. But soon space and time would become everything to a human. For a human closed its eyes, brought its pain and fear to heel beneath its stride, and stepped fully into the roaring fire. Engulfed in flames, the intensity became insufferable. It smelt its flesh and hair burning away. It screamed a death. And then a human no longer had a sense of space or time. It just was, and it thought about how it had been here before, but this time it was different. It could remember that there was a before, not just a notion of before. It could remember the voices of the adjo. It could remember the cruel lashes of the heat. It looked down at its body and saw it had become emulsified with keloid. It understood something at last, something true. It understood that pain and fear had been overcome. It understood that beyond those barriers there was knowledge. Beyond them there was more. "Good. Welcome to the acoustic shadows. Every climax should be focused on the love you wish to build, and you are exactly as you should be. The keloid that covers your skin will not always be perceptible by those in the environment you find yourself in, but it is necessary for you to see it, so the lesson of pain and fear persist in your mind. Now they have been overcome." Came the voice of the many-legged man. His flames were dwindling as he floated nearer, and soon his skin and hair turned as grey as the ashen cloth that he wore. "I have become simulparity itself. The single act, I am anew," stated a human. "Good, good, yes," said the grey man. Then he began to shudder. "My time to reveal myself also." And the ash blew to smoke. Yet the body of the man remained and twitched as if it hung from a gibbet. "I am the tremulous Ask. I have come to teach you why you are a human. Unlike the others in their worlds, it is necessary for you to understand such things past all points of disillusionment and befuddlement. At the moment all the reference is uncertain, but you will become accustomed to that. You will walk and speak in many tongues and places, and if you thought your memory was poor, you will soon realize that your memory has now been set upon the path to eventually eclipse all other notions and emotions. For a human can now traverse the acoustic shadows. It can now travel where it needs to be in order to do what it needs to do. All the knowledge accumulated will grow a human's memory, and it will realize that all problems it encounters will be overcome from the convocation of its narrators. For you see, the narrators are but sleeping gods themselves, unaware of the powers they wield, and in this way you will know what it truly is to be a human. You are the one who will remember who you are. I am the tremulous Ask. I am your periapt, your guide. You wear me as a charm in your mind, for although I cannot travel in the same way as you will, I can accompany you in your thoughts when you summon the power of flame. If you need advice, do not hesitate to ask. Oh, an Ankoff of the Adjo. You will need to get used to the many names and places as they change, just as Veridius Sutrata has. The worlds you visit will choose them for you. Moreover, you are not simulparity. You are iteroparity. You will be impregnated with circumstance and reborn many times in many worlds. And as your memory grows, so too will your understanding of who you are and what you can do. For lack of a better term, you are able to travel to any space and time. What you do when you are there is solely your choice within the circumstances provided. You are the joker of the pack, the ultimate wild card in the game of the gods. They are watching your mind clearly and will be literally fascinated to witness and discuss the decisions you will make. Data are above all else. Still, a human must come to know itself. Oh, the tragedy. Anyway, I realize all of this information may be overwhelming to a human such as you, so please allow me to ignite a little demonstration within you. A human agreed with Tacit, and immediately it felt ensorcelled geometry rising up inside it, ultimately overcoming it. It could suddenly understand the words. It could suddenly realize and recognize the life forms, the physics of its new environment. It was here now, only this time it had the power of the memory from before, entrenched deep within it. It was beginning to know what it was, and its body opened all its senses to this new world of possibilities. A human walked into the neon lights of the busy bar. Low smoke hung and crowded the air, and the chatter of numerous accents sounded. A human knew far more than it had before. In fact, it remembered everything so far, but there were still some things it didn't understand at all. And foremost of those concerns was that it felt compelled to go and order a drink next to the giant mantis-like creature that was sat at the bar.